The NBA offseason is often remembered for the moves that happen and can help teams go from a lottery appearance to a finals appearance. But not every franchise can make such upgrades, and often, many of them remain at the same place they were after the previous season. And for the better part of the shortest offseason in league history, it looked like the Wizards were going to be part of that group. However, things changed once it was announced Washington and Houston had reached an agreement to swap point guards. That way, the Wizards would receive former MVP Russel Westbrook in exchange for John Wall, arguably the best acquisition the team has made in recent years. So now, with a new point guard to run the team's offense, the franchise expects to return to the playoffs and establish a winning culture that can help their own players to stay in D.C. But as talented as Westbrook is, will he be able to fix the Wizards' issues? Welcome to Courtside. Today we'll take a look at the transaction that brought Russell to the American capital and how he may be able to help his new team improve in the short term. Before the start of last season, Westbrook and the Wizards didn't have many things in common, but following the conclusion of the bubble playoffs, both parties had a few similar issues. The season was a disappointment, and there wasn't clarity on what was going to happen going forward. In the case of Russell, he started the season with high expectations, given he joined a team that was expecting to compete for the championship. For the first time, he was going to play for a team other than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he would do it along with someone that helped him reach the finals in 2012. By pairing him with James Harden, the Rockets were trying to build a roster that could defeat the Golden State Warriors, and even though the two MVPs never looked like a great fit on paper, there was hope they'd be able to make things work out on the court. At first, things were not easy for the point guard as he tried to adjust to a new system. However, he started to get more comfortable as the months went by, and by the time the front office decided to go all into super small ball, he even started looking like the best player in a Rockets uniform from time to time. But things started to go wrong when it mattered the most. During the suspension of the season, Russell became infected with the coronavirus. Then once he was able to get into the Orlando bubble, he suffered an injury that forced him to miss the last seeding games and part of the first-round series against OKC. As a result, he wasn't able to play at full strength and had a poor performance in the second round as the Rockets were eliminated by the Lakers. His play in the bubble and his fit with Harden raised multiple concerns, and many people thought it would only be a matter of time before he was traded to a different team. However, in the end, he would be the one asking for a trade shortly after Houston revamped its coaching staff and front office. According to reports, the main reason why he wanted to leave the franchise after a single season was because he didn't like how things worked in Houston. Seemingly, the Rockets' culture wasn't as professional as the one he had been used to during his time in Oklahoma City, and the fact people didn't seem to care about their jobs as much as he did about his led him to look at a start in a different situation. And fortunately for him, there was a team interested in taking him away from the Rockets. While the Rockets had a clumsy season, to say the least, they never stopped winning games. From time to time, they even looked like one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and there were hopes they'd be able to put it all together by the time the playoffs came around. But things were much different in Washington. Despite being invited to play inside the bubble, Wizards fans had very few reasons to be excited about how things worked out for the team throughout the season, given they never had a realistic chance of finishing with a winning record. So by the time everything was said and done, the only thing the franchise could be happy about was the way young players performed, even if they couldn't present most teams with a challenge. Bradley Beal was also a silver lining for the team, as he had the best season of his pro career, but even that was not enough to help the team qualify for the play-in tournament. And while it would be fair to say that every team can go through a bad season, the truth is the Wizards haven't been playing well for a while. After forcing a Game 7 in the conference semis in 2017, Washington's play has been steadily declining to the point most people could only mock the team. The Wizards took a step back in 2018 and finished as the 8th seed in the East, eventually losing in the first round against the Toronto Raptors. At the time, most people attributed their lack of success to chemistry issues between Wall and Beal. However, things would become even worse in the following season as Wall suffered a season-ending injury in December. Without him, the team wasn't able to perform at a high level, and when it became clear they would miss the playoffs, the front office started trading most of their key players away. Still, there were hopes the Wizards could return to their original form once the point guard was back, but unfortunately, he suffered another injury that would make him miss all of last season. So, with a much younger roster and without their best player available, the Wizards were one of the worst teams in the league for the second straight year. So once again, the team's hopes for the future were placed on Wall having a successful comeback. But this time around, it seemed like the front office didn't feel confident about that idea. And while there are many things we still don't know about what happened in D.C., the matter of fact is that Westbrook is now the one filling Wall's place in the Wizards. But what makes Russell an upgrade over John? And what should we expect from him going forward? Well, if there's something we've learned over the last few years is that Westbrook is not good enough to take the team to the finals on his own. He's not that LeBron-like player who can be the savior of a franchise. However, we've also learned that he's capable of carrying a team to the playoffs by himself. He did just that in 2017, the season that came immediately after Kevin Durant departed from the Thunder. While OKC wasn't a championship contender that year, Westbrook made sure they were good enough to finish with a winning record and make the playoffs. That was also the year he averaged a triple-double for the first time in his career and became league MVP. While it's safe to say he won't need to do that much as a Wizard, there's reason to believe his presence should be enough to lift his new team into the playoffs. Of course, that doesn't mean it'll be easy, If everything goes as expected in the Eastern Conference, the first 7 seeds will be occupied by teams that have made the playoffs for the last few years and have enough talent to keep playing at an elite level this year. In other words, even with Westbrook on board, Washington's most realistic goal might be to aim for one of the lower seeds, especially considering the team will have to adapt to playing with a new star. But even if that's the case, his value to the Wizards would be perceived in areas other than the win column. Despite having spent only a few weeks together, all players have only said good things about Russell's impact on the team, including Beal. They've all talked about how contagious his energy is and how he's always telling everyone what they can do to get better and help the team improve. And while the young players may be the ones learning the most from the former MVP, Bradley may be the one who benefits the most from his presence on the team. As the Wizards' lone star during the last 2 seasons, the shooting guard has had to carry a burden on the offensive end. While he's managed to increase his production to superstar levels, he's also been the target of double and triple teams on most games. On top of that, the absence of an elite playmaker on the floor forced him to spend part of his time focusing on making plays for his teammates, meaning that Washington relied on Beal way more than other teams rely on their star players. That helped him improve his game when it comes to creating plays for himself and his teammates. But doing that for a full season is very demanding, even for the best players in the game. Westbrook knows that very well, and he also understands his role would be to make things easier for Beal. With his driving and playmaking, the point guard will take attention away from Bradley while also getting everyone involved. That will allow Beal to focus more on scoring and will also create better shots for him. That could allow the shooting guard to take another step into his development, and the rest of his teammates should also see the benefits of playing with Westbrook, given that most of them are also reliable shooters from long range. But aside from making plays and attacking the rim, Russell will also become the vocal leader that Bradley is not. He will call teammates out if they make a mistake and make sure everyone is giving their best, and he'll even demand Beal to play more aggressively. His previous experience in the playoffs and his multiple awards make him the most successful player in the locker room. So it's safe to say that everyone will be listening whenever he speaks up, even Scott Brooks, who used to coach him in OKC. Last but not least, there's the fact that this may be Westbrook's last chance to compete at a high level. Even if he's not capable of taking a team to the finals, he can help a young roster make it to the playoffs and lay a foundation that can allow it to become a contender in a few years. And if he's capable of helping the Wizards turn things around and remain competitive for more than 2 seasons, he'll have done something that very few other players have accomplished before. Altogether, the deal that brought Russell to Washington may have felt like a bittersweet one for fans in D.C., considering everything Wall had done for them, but the energy the point guard has brought to the team had been lacking in the last few years and should help them perform better than in the previous 2 seasons. And while Westbrook may no longer be in his prime, he's still capable of doing things very few people can do. And in the best scenario, that could help Beal and the rest of his teammates take a step forward as a team while also leading to a playoff berth. But now, do you think the addition of Westbrook will be enough for the Wizards to make the postseason? Or do you believe they still need to add more pieces to become a playoff contender? Let us know in the comments. We hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to like it and subscribe to our channel for more NBA content. We are Courtside.